What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Cjthecheesedj here, and welcome back to another Ark Insight. And today we are currently drowning underwater, but we are going to be taking a look at the Karkinos versus the Mosasaur. Dun dun dun. Two behemoths of the deep, just to see who is the most powerful one. Now, honestly, at the moment, my money is on the Mosasaur. Just look at the sheer size of this guy. I forgot how big they get. They are huge. Alrighty, so like I was saying, we're going to get into it. Now, if you haven't seen what an Ark Insight is yet on our channel, we pretty much just go through their base stats and then pit them up against each other in a battle to the death. Alrighty, so let's get it underway. So straight off the bat, the Mosasaurus has 3,600 health. That's 3,600 health, 400 stamina, 1,300 weight, and 128.3 melee damage. Now that sounds like a very formidable foe for our little Karkinos over here. Let's come take a look at the Karkinos here. Now the Karkinos only has 1,200 health, 600 stamina, which is a solid amount, 800 weight, and 125.8 melee damage. So far the Mosasaur definitely has the home field advantage with the higher health and the higher weight. However, that's not all that comes to these dinos you see in front of you. Dino/crustacean. So unlike our other Ark Insights where we normally test their speed, today we're not going to, because honestly the Mosasaurus is much faster than the Karkinos. Karkinos is not going to even come close to swimming as fast as the Mosasaur. Look how fast the Mosasaur swims. The Karkinos just kind of walks across the bottom of the ocean floor. That's all he really is good for. He can't actually swim. So you got to make sure you bring extra sets of scuba gear if you plan on taking the crab into the bottom recesses of the ocean, because these guys have a struggle of getting back up to the surface, because you have to pretty much manually walk them up there. You can see there, they've only got the ability to jump underwater. Other than that, they can't do anything to get you back to the surface, which is kind of annoying. But hey, it's kind of to be expected. They don't have any sort of fins to swim with. They've just got gigantic crustacean-y legs. So, don't blame the poor crabs, it's not their fault. But next up, we're going to get into their abilities. So, the Karkinos has a couple of pretty cool abilities. Not only does it have the ability to jump, which you can just see here. Look at him leaping across these boundless plains, looking majestic as ever. But he also has the ability to pick up other dinosaurs. Now, these dinosaurs can range anywhere from the smaller Mosachops all the way up to your Stegos. You can see here we're able to pick up the magical mystical unicorn found throughout Ragnarok and whatnot. And you can actually then lob these creatures, which is the great part about it. Unless you, of course, attack them first. But if you press the right stick again on consoles, you can see that the poor unicorn is just absolutely launched into the stratosphere. It's just absolutely out of here. That's a home run by my standards. So you can actually do that with any of the creatures you're able to pick up with the Karkinos. Now, as well as that, he's got his primary, secondary, and then he can actually double hit with both his claws. So he has that going for himself as well. This guy is pretty durable as well. So we're going to see how good the Mosa is up against him. Now, the Mosasaur does not have any kind of extra special abilities. It has its bite attack, and that is it, and a horrible turning radius. That's all it's got going for itself. However, it does also have the unique ability of being able to be one of the only dinos that have a platform saddle made for them, so that you can actually put platform saddles on these guys and build little bases on the back of them, which is kind of good because you can always just, come to the surface and just plant your Mosasaur there with its base on its back, which, can be your portable living home. You can pretty much live in the oceans of Ark on the back of a Mosasaur, which is always fun. However, just be careful going underwater, because it's not a lot of fun going underwater and trying to get into your base. Now, in terms of melee damage, both are very powerful. You can see here the Mosasaurus is hitting 121 on this poor little Megalodon that's just come into our clutches. However, with the Karkinos, things are a little bit different, because you obviously have to try and maneuver them to attack you. Otherwise, if they just swim around you and whatnot and swim above you, you're not going to be able to hit them. But if we come over here, you can see that the Karkinos also has 3 attacks that we covered in its ability section. One where it does a single basic pincer slam, which only does 40 damage. These are the same for both its pincers. However, if you do the dual pincers, you can see that it's hitting 62. So that is its base attack. Now, you can't actually pick up underwater creatures either with the Karkinos, only land-based creatures, which is kind of a shame. But you can see here, the Karkinos definitely does not hit as hard as the Megalodon does. However, if you compare the size of the Megalodon to the Karkinos, that's a solid extra 3 Karkinoses you could probably fit alongside the Mosasaur. Apologies. So there's no hard feelings for the guy not hitting as hard as the Mosasaur does. Now, in terms of turning radius, the Karkinos' turning radius is absolutely perfection. Like, you can just pivot on the spot, pretty much. That's all there really is to it. You don't have to do much else other than that. However, with the Mosasaur, well, let me get started. That is a whole different story. This guy has a gigantic turning radius. However, it's kind of to be expected because of his sheer size and just like the colossal amount of power he holds within him. He just has to constantly keep spinning around in circles because he's so big. But, like, look at this guy's turning radius. It's huge. So if you plan on fighting smaller based creatures, try not to take them on with your Mosasaur because you're going to pretty much be spinning around them all day. Now, the stamina on the Mosasaurus is actually really terrible as well at base level 1. Obviously, you're going to need to pump it up in stamina quite a bit, otherwise you're going to be stuck swimming this slow forever. You can see it doesn't take long for it to expend all its stamina before it runs out, and it just doesn't have much stamina to it, so you're definitely going to want to invest some points in stamina for this guy. Now, in terms of meat gathering, I can tell you now that the Mosasaurus is definitely going to be the king of gathering meat. You just saw there, we got 240 raw fish meat from gathering a single Megalodon with the Mosasaur. So that guy is definitely going to be getting a lot more meat than the Karkinos is. Now, that is assuming that you can actually get the Karkinos to hit the corpse of the dead body. Now, if you're obviously riding along on something else, you don't have to worry too much about it. But the Karkinos, on the other hand, is very difficult because you can't actually jump attack with it. You just kind of have to slam your claws down. So you can see we're actually unable to reach these Megalodons. Okay, so the Mosasaur managed to get 240 meat, whereas the Karkinos managed to get about 180. So it's not too far off the Mosasaur, about 60 points of difference in terms of raw fish meat. That's not too much, it's not too bad to worry about, but these guys are pretty equal in those terms, so I wouldn't worry too much. Obviously, if you've got a Mosasaur, I doubt you'll be running around on a Karkinos on the bottom of the ocean floor, considering that the Mosasaurs are probably the kings of the deep, maybe only second to the Tusos. So, yeah, it all comes down to personal preference in that regard. But now we're going to get into the battle to the death. Okay, so for this battle, we are unclaiming the Mosasaur, and we're going to whistle our Karkinos to attack the Mosasaur. Now, because the Mosasaur swims around, I don't think this is going to go how we want it to. I'm pretty sure that the Mosasaur will actually just keep swimming around the Karkinos while the Karkinos is just walking around in circles trying to hit it. We're going to hope for the best here. I highly doubt it's going to work the way we want it to, but let's give it a shot. Here we go. The battle to the death is underway. The Karkinos has got the Mosasaurus in its sights, and yeah, much like I predicted, the Karkinos is just going to try and hit him. I don't know how they just did that double jump. I did not know the Karkinos could do a double jump underwater. Maybe because it's not saddled. I don't know. But the Mosasaurus just swam away. The Karkinos is trying to pursue him, but I didn't think this battle would work. It's very difficult. The only way we'd probably get this battle to work is to stick him in a very big, gigantic, fenced-off pen. But even then, I think the Mosasaurus would just swim around in circles while the Karkinos chases after him with his incredibly slow speed. You can see there, the Mosasaurus is all the way down the bottom there. The Karkinos isn't going to be able to hit him because he's just floating in the ocean, whereas the Karkinos can't do that. It just plummets straight down to the ground. So, I honestly think, though, that if they were on even ground and, like, the Karkinos could actually hit, the Mosasaurus would still win. With its huge health pool and extra damage, the Karkinos would just get annihilated. Not to mention, the Karkinos would also probably try grabbing the Mosasaurus because of its silly AI. Believe me, the amount of times my tamed Karkinoses have tried doing that is ridiculous. So, yeah, I really don't think that the Mosasaurus would have lost to the Karkinos. I definitely think the Karkinos would have lost. But that'll pretty much conclude this Ark Insight. Let me know what you guys thought of it down below. Let me know if you'd like to see more. If you've got any requests, make sure to leave them down in the comments below. But other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.